There's been a lot of focus on what Springfield didn't get done this weekend, i.e. the Bears bill, and not enough focus on what did happen, which is passing the budget at 4 in the morning. Let's talk about that, because already, with very little scrutiny, they're finding all sorts of errors, like misappropriated funds. There's a college that has been getting funding for years that's been closed for 4 or 5 years, and that was still in the budget. So a little transparency would have gone a long way, and maybe not dropping it late at night and then voting on it so that the public could actually see how their tax dollars are being spent. That's one of the reforms that we propose in our platform. But let's talk about this state's spending especially, because under J.B. Pritzker, spending has exploded in Illinois. Just last year, it was already at nearly a $2 billion increase, and yet the state brought in nearly $800 million more than was what was expected. We just keep spending and spending and spending. This year, it's almost $56 billion. Check out this graph. You can see that before J.B. Pritzker took office, spending was relatively flat, and those were some pretty tough years. You had the Rauner-Madigan budget impasse, you had a temporary tax hike, which expired, then the permanent tax hike, a lot of volatility, and still yet fairly flat spending, right around that $35 billion number. J.B. Pritzker takes office, and spending skyrockets. Pritzker's defenders will tell you, well, COVID was during that time, and that's true. But if that's the case, then why is the graph still going up even though we're now well past COVID? There's still plenty of spending going on. It's not all related to COVID. We've got a spending problem down in Springfield, and as a result, every year we hear, well, there's not enough money, so we're going to need to put more taxes, and typically it's on small businesses that they do it. It happened yet again this time. Over $800 million in tax hikes, you had another $600 million in borrowing, which our kids and grandkids will pay, and then $185 million in fund sweeps. We're going to go through all of it. First, on the tax hikes, you had $300 million in tax hikes on businesses by capping net operating loss deductions. We're one of only 3 states that does this in the country. And oh, by the way, we already have the second highest corporate tax rate in the nation. So we're putting even more of a burden on our businesses. And we're wondering why they're not growing here and they're leaving for other states like Indiana. We had another $200 million in social media fees. This is a brand new thing that Pritzker is proposing. We don't even know if it's going to be allowed by the courts. But this is a fee on social media companies, which sounds great. Except the reality is it's going to get passed down to users, especially those small businesses who are advertising on social media platforms, because those costs are going to go up. And so this is a tax that's going to be paid by our small businesses. Another tax that's going to be paid by our small businesses, the digital ad tax. Brandon Johnson has been trying to do this in Chicago for a long time. Well, Pritzker just stole the idea, and now he's going to do it in Illinois. And by the way, bar Chicago from being able to do it themselves, which is kind of ironic. This is going to raise anywhere from $200 to $800 million for the state if the courts allow it. And yet again, it's going to get passed down to the people who pay for those ads on those platforms, which are overwhelmingly small businesses. That's why a whole bunch of small businesses have been talking about these 2 taxes, not being a fan of them, because they're going to be the ones who pay that price. And this is why small businesses continue to struggle in Illinois. A few other smaller ones, there was $60 million in digital asset taxes. That's basically a crypto tax. Another $60 million on small businesses, decoupling from a federal benefit that helps startups and small businesses. Well, now that's not going to be allowed in Illinois, even though all the surrounding states will provide that benefit for their small businesses. It's like the politicians in the state don't understand that our businesses compete on a national and even global marketplace. So they keep putting us at a disadvantage behind Indiana, Wisconsin, and some of these other businesses. Another $5 million tax on fantasy contests. Listen, if it happens in Illinois, they're going to find a way to tax it. Let's talk about those fund sweeps. The biggest one, the one that drives me crazy, is $150 million taken from the gas tax. See, the sales tax on gas. I've talked about this before. We double tax gas in Illinois. And that's as a result, when gas prices go up, that sales tax is a percentage. So we pay a whole bunch more as that sales tax increases with the gas prices. And so there was a $150 million windfall for the state that instead of giving it back to us, the ones that were paying that exorbitant tax, they swept it over into the general fund as a one-time thing to help cover some of their base spending. This is the kind of stuff that even though Pritzker says our budget is balanced, that's one-time revenue being used to cover base spending. That is not going to work next year and the year after and the year after, but Springfield keeps doing it. What else was in this budget that you should know about? Well, yet again, pay hikes for politicians. It's in there automatically every year unless they stop it, and they're never going to stop giving themselves a pay hike. So now our part-time politicians down in Springfield make over $100,000 a year, and that's before their stipends and everything else that they get. So I guess my question to you is, do you think, based on how they've been performing, I'll bring up the graph again, how they keep spending more and more of our money, have they earned those pay hikes? Probably not, but I guess it's for you to decide come November.